2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So my phone cut off, telling me you're out of storage or whatever. But I think it might be good now. I don't know. I already deleted some shit, but you know this fucking phone, like, when you delete things off your photos, it just goes to a trash album. It doesn't actually delete it. You gotta go in there and delete it twice. Whatever. Anyways, I'm gonna wrap this up because I'm drunk and I'm taking too long to tell this bizarre story. But do you see what I mean? Do you see what I mean about how they just throw everything in there with no explanation? And it's like, okay, fine. Everything that's not based in our real world, like all the stuff I like, monsters and everything, it's like, okay, sure. I know it's like weird if you never heard of a vampire before or something like that, but I don't know. I just feel like there's more like rules you kind of can tell, like what you're working with and what you're not. Whereas this is just kind of like, it's just kind of like, whoa, you guys do that in this world? Okay, I guess I just gotta accept it, like, you know. But anyways, the point is, Spider-Man is friends with the He-Man dude, even though they fight, and then the He-Man guy, he jumps up on top of this condemned building, and they're like, that building is gonna be demolished, but I would think what they meant is like within a few days. But despite everybody seeing that the caveman dude and Spider-Man are both on top of this building, the fucking wrecking ball just appears and starts breaking the building down. And then I kind of forgot what happens in the middle. Whatever, I'm skipping to the end. So everybody goes to Craven's house, Craven's compound, whatever he has. And he's there with, didn't he have some helper or something like that? I feel like he had like a little helper with him, or maybe not. Oh, he had a snake. He has like a giant boa constrictor. That's his helper. I knew he had some kind of sidekick. But anyways, everybody gets there. Fucking the caveman is like, you must release my tiger friend, you know? And then Jameson is there because this is why I remember now. Because the caveman went to Jameson's office. And this shit makes no sense. They should put this in I swear, they should put this type of shit in the live action movie. And like, let people deal with this for some crazy dialogue, okay? Like, the caveman's in there, and he grabs Jameson and puts him over his shoulder, and then the phone rings, and Jameson's like, oh, excuse me, caveman, let me take this real quick. And he picks up the phone, and, I think it's Craven on the other end. And, Jameson's like, I forgot who says what at what time, but basically, Jameson's like, I'm gonna bring, the caveman to you. But then he tells the caveman, I'm gonna bring you to Craven. So he's like pretending like he's on both their sides. And then Spider-Man had put a spider tracking chip thing on the caveman's ass, on his furry little underwear. But that didn't amount to anything because Jameson grabbed it off his underwear and put it on the floor. So everyone goes to Craven's place. And then Craven gets in a fight with you know, the caveman. So it's like caveman versus hunter or whatever. And so yeah, it's like two different forms of like people being primal, living in nature, but they're not the same, you know, and they're against each other. But then Jameson and his uncle, his nephew, I guess, are there. And was that a rumble? It sounded like an earthquake for a second, but it wasn't. I didn't feel any earthquake. Anyways, they get trapped like almost instantly, and they're put in like a net and dangled over some, like, crocodiles or whatever. But then, yeah, Craven and, with his American-ass voice and his big computer panel, and he fights, the caveman. But then, you know, the caveman and Spider-Man, team up against, Craven, and the saber-toothed tiger gets let free. I don't even remember how. And all of this is only 22 minutes, okay? Keep that in mind. So this shit is nice and short. All these long-ass movies, you know, they have to keep in mind that they could have been 22 minutes, okay? They just have to lean a little bit more heavy on the explanation dumps than they already do, but, I mean, it's not a big stretch, you know. But, oh, I almost forgot. Craven has this, like, utility belt that has all these, like, spikes on it. It's supposed to either be teeth or claws or horns, I don't know what. But his little potion thing that in the movie he got from Calypso, I didn't realize that's such a big part of his character, and that every iteration they have to have some version of him having this potion that he can drink so that he can maintain his superhumanness. So, even though I thought it was funny in the cartoon, the one from the 90s, the one I remember seeing with the kids, like, because the first time, and they can't show any blood, apparently. They can't even show the 3 red lines to be scratches, apparently, because they keep saying, like, he's so badly injured, but I'm like, is he? Is he? Because I don't see any evidence of that. I see him go like this, like, I don't see anything. I don't see any injuries, but she's like, oh my god, he's so badly hurt, he's gonna die. And then she pours instead of pouring it in his mouth, she pours it in his mouth the second time, but that's a different potion that, like I said, turns him human again. But the first one, the original one that turns him primal, she doesn't pour it in his mouth, she pours it on his chest like it's Vicks Vapor Rub. That made me laugh. Because I assume he's supposed to be all scratched and bitten up, right? But he's not. You don't see any of that. So it's just like, yeah, whatever. Anyways, so, where was I? So anyways, okay, Spider-Man and the caveman, the He-Man guy, gang up on Craven, and they put him in his own pop-up cage. And then it was funny because what I assumed to be about Craven, which they didn't show in the, they didn't show this in the live-action movie, but I assumed it nonetheless, which is that he is very claustrophobic, and that, you know, he wants a big space to run around in all the time. And they put him in his own cage, and then he starts freaking out, and he's just like, you can't put me in a little-ass cage. And then they laugh at him, and they call him a coward. And, yeah, because at the end he starts sucking. Because then he said he ran out of weapons, and then the caveman takes his, like, utility belt, and he gets done dirty at the end. He gets made to look like a chump. And then he gets locked up, and then until later, I assume he's going to come back, you know. And then I guess that ends. It ends on that note. And Jameson, I assume, didn't get a refund for the money he spent on the tiger. Why the fuck are you going to buy a saber-toothed tiger, and you don't even have a space for it? He lives in New York. I don't think he probably has a backyard. What are you gonna do with the saber-toothed tiger, you asshole? Like, he seems straight up evil. And, I mean, I know he's supposed to be an asshole boss, but, like, come on, like, just the bizarreness of these ideas that are just seeming to pop out of nowhere. You know, this is why I was saying, like, all these superhero fans that, like, because I'm on the outside looking in, okay? Because I just, you know, I watch superhero fans on YouTube, and I'm just kind of learning everything peripherally, you know? And it's just like, okay, cool. But these people who want everything to be very, like, dark and serious, this is kind of what I was saying. It's like, I feel like they need to sometimes remember that, like, this is what we're this is what we're dealing with here. Like, weird shit like this. Where it's like somebody literally, like, got high and wrote a first draft and then never revised it. They're just like, yep, we're gonna go with that. It's cool. Everything's cool. Nothing's off the table. Which, you know, that's cool. That's cool. I respect it. But, still, it's just like this world where literally anything can happen, you know? And I can't get over the fact that Agartha in the Spider-Man world is real, and that they call it Strange Town or something like that. They should call it Dinosaur World, but they don't. But I'm just like, I just can't fucking believe it. I can't fucking believe that. Like, I mean, all this stuff with all these superheroes that get their powers from radioactivity and stuff like that. I know that's just that goes back to the 50s, where it's like, okay, in reality, we know that radiation, all this stuff, like, it fucking melts your body and it gives you cancer and all this shit. But in these shows, it's like, oh, it either gives you superpowers or it turns animals giant, you know? Like, people thinking it's gonna have all these, like, really, like, fantastical, like, results, when in reality it's like, no, it kind of just causes, like, rotting and death. Like, makes plant life go barren and, you know, all these horrible things. And causes radiation sickness, you know. But, I mean, that's the legacy of the 50s, you know. People thinking, like, oh, what if it gave you superpowers, and what if it made, like, rats and bunnies and ants and grasshoppers giant, you know. But, yeah, I don't know. The randomness is just so funny. Like, can you imagine if this episode right here, with all its weirdnesses, cave people popping up out of nowhere, and all this, like, can you really imagine if that was a live action movie? I think that might actually be, like, a hit. Like, if they just did it, like, straight up with no shame and with no, like, warning, you know? See, that's how you kill it. That's how you kill a thing. You start warning everybody and telling them what to expect. You can't give any warning, okay? You have to make a fake trailer. Put out the trailer that we got, making people think, oh, this is some, like, Rambo action movie thing, you know, it's kind of like, you know, Underworld or something. Like, make people think of something nice and familiar that they're used to, and that there's no reason to think outside the box. And then when the movie drops, it's, like, crazy. It's just like, and then we summoned a Pegasus, and the Pegasus went into the black hole that took us to the photonegative dimension. And in the photonegative dimension, we looked for the special spore that would, you know, open the light in our arm hairs to transport us into the maker of the sun. You know, like, a shit like that. It's just like, anyways, whatever. I think that's all I have to say.